Upselling is the way to make more money and squeeze out more dollars from your customers. Today, I want to talk to you about the best techniques for upselling and how to convert the maximum amount of upsells possible in your checkout cart. My name is Maria Spragas. I help thousands of 7- and 8-figure merchants maximize their conversions and also get the most out of their payment processing. And today, I really want to focus on upselling. What is upselling and how can you offer upsells that will entice your customers to buy more from you and make you more money in the end? Obviously, if a customer is buying one thing, there's a huge opportunity to sell them other things that may be of interest or help with the initial product that they're buying. So this is really a perfect opportunity to squeeze out more dollars from this consumer just by offering things that may make sense with their current purchase. Now, what is an upsell? An upsell is a newly created word. I mean, this is something that, we've been hearing in the last 10 or 15 years. It's gaining a lot more popularity. And what this essentially means is offering your customers more products or services when they're checking out. So if they're buying product A, then, when they're finished their purchase, you can offer them another product that could complement, for example, their first product, or you can offer them more of what they're already buying. For example, if they're buying a supplement for 30 days, you may want to give them a better offer if they buy 60 days worth of the supplement and so forth. So that is what an upsell is really selling your customer more products or services in order, obviously, to satisfy a need on their end, but also to make your store and your business more money. Now, a question that I get from a lot of business owners is, how many upsells should I offer? What should be the price point? How can I structure these to make the most money? And obviously not to piss off my customers or cause more returns and so forth. So I'm going to address all these points. And one of the most important things to understand is, although a lot of business owners, think, I'll just offer my customers 4 or 5 different things and see which one they take. Having no strategy and just, throwing different products to the customer for them to buy will likely yield, a bad result. You'll probably get a lot of declines, a lot of customers who are not interested, or if you force it upon them, you'll get a lot of returns later on and so forth. So it is important to map out a good upsell strategy. And I know a lot of business owners really take time to create, a sales funnel that makes sense for their front-end product and really price test and do that. And then what I see is that on the upsell side of things, there's very little effort, which surprises me, because if you spend as much time on your upsells as you do to your front end, you will yield very positive results. Because one of the hardest things is to get a customer in the door. Once you have them in the door and they're ready to buy something from you, as long as you make a decent case as to why they would need another product, they're likely going to take it because they've already trusted you with making at least one purchase or one transaction. So, increasing your revenue per customer is a very easy way for you to minimize ad costs, right? Because it's not going to cost you more to acquire that customer. He's already buying something. And secondly, it's already a trusting relationship because that person has already bought something for you or is buying something from you. So, think out your strategy for upsells. Think about products that are related to each other. So for example, if you're selling an ebook on healthy eating and so forth, then maybe your upsell could be a coaching session or another ebook that complements the first one and so forth. Now, you don't want to go, super crazy and start offering 5, 10 ebooks. Obviously, the person that's buying is not going to be reading these, but 1 or 2 extra products can be a very good thing for the customer. So the age-old question, how many upsells should I offer? Well, there's no hard and fast rule to this. It really depends on what you're selling, price points that you're selling it, and so forth. So the most important thing for you to understand is think about your customer and think about customer satisfaction and the customer experience. If you sell, for example, 6 months of a specific product for a supplement, offering a customer a 1-year supply, does that make sense? Does the shelf life even, correspond to something that would make sense for a 1-year supply? Maybe instead of, offering an extra supply, maybe what you want to do is have another product that can complement the first product, right? So there's a lot of other things that you can do, or you can offer something digital like some kind of book, or perhaps access to a specific Facebook group or some community and so forth. So, think about your customer experience, ask your customers questions. I mean, you may want to think about doing a customer survey if that's possible, giving them something free for answering your questions, and just try to gather as a first step, data as to like what are good products and services that are, complementary to the main product that you're selling. So if you have a lot of different products that you're selling and, there's different front end products, then, obviously you need to think about your upsells for each one. But, don't just throw stuff on there without really thinking about the customer experience, because ultimately, if you have a good take rate for your upsells, but then 10, 20, 30% are refunding or charging back, that's not going to bring you any closer to good revenue numbers. So think about the customer experience and what makes sense. And my general rule of thumb is try to limit it to 2 upsells at most. After the 3rd or 4th, based on the data that I see from the businesses that we work with, there's such a huge drop-off rate when you're trying to charge somebody's credit card a 3rd or 4th or 5th time in one given day, that it just doesn't even make much sense to offer more than 2. Now, you might turn around and say, hey, Maria, what if I just bundle it all up and charge it in one transaction at the end? Now, the problem with that is that if you do that, you will get more declines, especially if the ticket is very high, if the ticket size is very high. So for example, if you have a front end or your main offer is $79, and then you have an upsell that's $100, and then another upsell that's $200, if you charge them individually, you may get an approval for the first one, you might get an approval for the second one, and then maybe the third one will decline because maybe the customer has no money, or that's his maximum limit for the day. But if you wait till the end and you process that whole transaction for a couple of $100, you may just get a decline right off the bat, and you'll lose that customer without even gaining him in the first place. So in general, your best practice is really to charge per product so you can move along the cart and add more transactions as the customer buys them. Now, there's other companies that do this. For example, Amazon, they do charge pretty much per product, and you don't see a huge transaction amount. And one of the reasons is exactly the reason that I spoke to you about, because one large transaction will likely decline a lot more than smaller transactions. Now, that being said, I do get a lot of business owners who come to me and say, hey, Maria, my take rate is 70%, but out of those 70% of clients who are saying that they want the upsell, only half are getting approved. Why are these transactions for my upsells getting declined? So there are things that you should be doing at the gateway level to ensure that your upsell approval ratio is high. And you can't just leave things at factory settings anymore when it comes to your gateway. Everybody has a different business model, and certain things that are good for your business may not work for somebody else. So if you get your gateway and you just leave it without touching it and looking and tinkering at the different options and features, you may be missing out on some huge opportunities. Now, the main thing that you need to do in order to ensure that you have the highest possible upsell approval ratio is to vault your transactions and to use that vault ID to process your upsells. So let me explain a little bit more what that means. So vaulting your customer data means that when the customer submits their credit card information, your gateway gives it a unique ID. That unique ID says, we have this customer data, it's encrypted and it's secure. And then once the customer upsells, instead of resending the customer data that you had in your cart, you send that vault ID, and you will have a much better approval ratio. And the reason for that is because your first transaction that you have with your customer likely holds a CVV number. Now, the CVV is obviously the 3 digits behind the card. And when somebody's in your shopping cart entering their information, they enter that number, they get approved. But then when you go to the upsell side, because CVV cannot be stored, when you resend the information, the CVV isn't there. So you are more likely to get declined because, the customer's bank's going to say, hey, where's the CVV? We don't see this coming in as encrypted information. through a vault ID and so forth. So you may get more declines like that because CVV is missing and it's not tagged as a vaulted transaction. So if you can do that, that would be a really good thing. And most gateways and shopping carts do accommodate this. So, the vault is something that secures your customer information. So when you pass it along, for example, for other transactions and so forth, you're not actually just sending customer information at random. You're actually just using the vault ID. So, the customer's bank will see that there's been previous transactions, that, you're securing the customer information and so forth. So that will really help you increase your conversions and your approval rate on your upsell 1, upsell 2, and so forth. Now, another thing that you have to keep in mind is your price points. So for example, if you have a $79 front end and then you have an upsell and it's $79 as well, that is going to be seen as a duplicate price point. So you will get a lot more declines. You will see that for no apparent reason, it's just going to say, either processor timeout or error and so forth, because as a default setting, most processors will not allow another transaction of the same value to get approved within, 20 minutes or 30 minutes. Because in the past, people used to press, the submit or order now button multiple times, and that would create multiple transactions, that were duplicated and so forth, which would cause chargebacks, refunds, and, a lot of issues with the customer. So most gateways will have as a default setting that you cannot charge the same price point for at least 30 minutes to avoid situations like this. So if your front end product and your main product is $79 a month or $79, you should not be charging $79 as your upsell. You need to change the price point because it'll cause more errors. So keep that in mind, and obviously price test to find the best price for the upsell, but make sure it's not the same as the main product. Now, if, for example, the main product that you're selling is $10 to $20, for example, and then upsell number 1 is $500, well, that's going to be seen very poorly by the customer's bank, because it's going to look like some kind of trial offer, and it's going to look like perhaps, something a little bit scammy, because a lot of customers' banks are very weary of people who are offering free trials and businesses who are offering free trials. And you need to be registered as a free trial or trial merchant in order to offer these types of things. You will see an automatic decline because the price points are just too far apart. It doesn't make sense. So if, for example, you offer trials and say it's $9.95 for 10 days and then, $30, $40, $50, whatever the case is, after a couple of days for a monthly subscription, that's fine. But you have to keep in mind that your next upsell after that, $10 transaction cannot be a huge amount, because you will see more declines, because banks don't like to see these trial type things with 2 charges too close together, and the price points need to make sense. And also another practice that's done, that creates fraud is people try a small transaction, like fraudsters can try a small transaction of like $10 to see if the card works before they start using it for, other purchases. So banks are in tune with this, and they decline when they see these huge disparities in price points. You charge $10 and then you charge $500. That makes no sense. So your prices have to be closer together. I would say double max. Your front end price point should be your upsell, and then maybe a little bit more after that, but I wouldn't go with a huge price difference like $10 and then $500, for example. If you're offering something at $10 on your front end cart, then maybe $49 or $59 at most. Keep it sub $100 for your upsell. And if you can get it even closer, you're gonna see that you'll get a lot more approvals. Sometimes as you're price testing, you may find that the lower price point gets more approvals and you make more money doing that versus offering a higher price. So keep that in mind and make sure, as I said, that you don't have duplicate price points, that you don't have price points that look like trial price points or fraud price points. Card testing is a big problem these days, and a lot of banks and processors are weary of prices that are too far apart because they think you may be card testing. Now, Now, one last thing I want to talk to you guys about, and this is about price testing as well, but the practice of something called downselling is huge these days. So what I mean by that, and it's very popularized on, apps on Apple and so forth, and consumers are now starting to expect this, which is problematic. And what I mean by downsells is, for example, somebody comes in and buys your product, they check out, and then you offer them an upsell. For example, let's say $99 for your upsell. They say no, you automatically go to something called a downsell page, which is offering them that same product for, 50% less, so $49. So a lot of customers are now declining the upsell just so they can get the downsell and be able to take advantage of whatever product or service you're offering for cheaper. And this is popularized on Apple apps. So I subscribed to an app that was, $10 trial and then $49.99 a month thereafter. And when it came time to renew, I was thinking about it. I said, I don't really need this. It's just something I'm going to cancel. I go to cancel, and then it offers me $9.99 for lifetime access. So as a consumer, what does that tell, your consumer about your business? You were going to be charging me $50 a month to get access to your app. And then when I said no, you said, okay, you don't need to get charged $50 a month anymore. We'll give you access forever for $10. How does that make me feel about your product or service? So you need to be very careful when you're offering downsells, because that can actually really ruin your reputation. It can get you a bad reviews online and so forth. And it'll get, customers talking and telling others that, they shouldn't accept your first offer because they're going to get downsells. And ultimately it'll, water down your brand and just make you look like you're not offering anything of value. So keep in mind, offering downsells could be a strategic way of keeping customers, but and making more money, but you may want to reserve that later on in the relationship. You don't want to offer a downsell necessarily at, the first dance with the customer, which is, their first initial purchase. You want to let them kind of go through the customer journey, enjoy your products or services before you start offering them, a downsell or a lower price for another product or service. Now, all this to say, if you have no time and you're not really thinking about upsells, or you have no resources to really manage upsells and, help increase revenue that way, there are some other avenues of things that you can do to offer to your customers. And for example, if you have no products or services or anything that's complementary, you may want to look for an affiliate offer. So you can sign up for an affiliate for somebody else's offer that you think, for example, is a good complementary product or service. What you might do is redirect them to go to an affiliate offer so you can make a commission off, them buying another product or service from another merchant or business and so forth. So that's a way that you can make a couple of bucks, at the checkout level from your customers without much of an effort, as long as you obviously investigate that this is a legit product or service and there is, something in common with what you're selling. And keep in mind, if you do offer an affiliate offer and the customer has a bad experience with your partner, then that's going to relay back to you. So be very responsible and choose people and businesses that are offering good products and services, good customer service, and shipping things on time. And then if that doesn't work and you're like, I don't want to do upsells, or I don't have anything to offer as an upsell and it's too complicated to figure out, an affiliate offer that could make sense. Another thing you can do is you can get your customers' consent, at the time of purchase to give you their phone number, and you can market to them with phone sales. Now, I know a lot of people have a little bit of a stigma for, telemarketing and so forth, because, there's been a lot of negative stuff that happens with telemarketers, but there are a lot of companies and there are a lot of different businesses who have a really good customer experience and can take your customer list and offer them additional products and services and then give you a cut of that. So, if you do need some help with that, you can always reach out to me and I can make you some good referrals. But keep in mind, once the customer buys their first product, that shouldn't be the end of their journey. There's other ways for you to make money, whether it's upselling, whether it's an affiliate offer that you give them, or whether, you get a call center involved that can help you generate more money off your customer list. If you have any questions or if you need help with your upsells, feel free to contact me or somebody from my team, and we'd be happy to assist you. Have yourself a great day.